right, today we're going to talk about octaves. I covered octaves in a previous video a few days ago, but today we're going to take an idea and learn how to basically turn it into an endless idea. And all that without too much pain in the fingers. But first, this. Hi, my name is David Wallerman. Welcome to this channel, which is all about helping guitar players like you and me and everyone else find our voice on the instrument, develop it to tell our own personal musical story. And today is about that storytelling experience, and it's about preparing for the next chapter of your story. If you consider an improvisation a story, you have the beginning, you have a middle, and you have the end. And in between, we have different chapters. This concept applied to the story experience is basically giving details to something happening in the story, which allows you to prepare for the next part. It's building momentum, if you will, before we go on to the next part. So musically, it might be something like this. You've got an idea here. Okay, and you're developing that idea. So that kind of builds momentum until you go to the next part. If that was your next part. But that's what this is about. And when I say create momentum, it's something that the listener is going to engage with because he remembers that one idea. And repetition creates that sense of, I really like what you're doing in the listener. That explains why, on the radio you hear a song that you're embarrassed of humming, but you still hum to it because you heard it enough times. That's what's happening there. And it gives your mind, as an improviser, the opportunity to plan your next move and not feel like, okay, that's the next part. What do I do here? No, you're planning ahead as you're doing these things because these are the kind of things that are kind of automatic. Okay, so first let's talk about octaves. How do you find the octave? Well, we covered this in a previous lesson a few days ago, but just a quick reminder, here's the shape that we're going to use. Let's say that we have a note on, here, that's kind of in the way, right? Let's say that we have a note here on the low E string, 5th fret. Okay, that's an A. To find the octave of that note, well, there's several ways, but what we're going to use here is skip the next string. So if we're on the 6th string, 5th fret, skip string 5, go to string 4, 2 frets higher, so that'll be on the 7th fret. And it would be always like that if our guitar was tuned in perfect fourths, and some people do tune in perfect fourths, and that's why they do it, actually, because there's no changes here. But here I'm considering that we're in standard tuning, which means that anytime we have strings 2 and 3 involved at the same time, in a chord or a scale or a shape, like here we're doing the octave thing, anytime strings 2 and 3 are involved at the same time, the shape is going to change slightly. We're going to have to add 1 fret. So here we have the octave of that note right here. We're going to follow the rule. So from the 4th string, 7th fret, we're going to skip strings 3 and 2. Strings 3 and 2, that means that the shape is going to change. It's no longer going to be 2 frets higher, but 3 frets higher. So we've got this note, and this note. That's how you can find octaves across different strings. We can do it backwards too. Let's say that we have this note on the 1st string, 12th fret. Find the octave below. Okay, well, we're reversing the engines here. Instead of the 1st string, it's going to be the 3rd string, 2 frets below. But see, we're using strings 2 and 3 at the same time, so it's going to be 3 frets below. And now from this note to an octave lower, we'll skip a string and 2 frets below because we don't have strings 2 and 3 together. Okay, that was a brief explanation of how to find the octaves. There are other ways, but that's what we're going to use here. And the idea is to create a lick, figure out a lick, an idea, a sequence, or something that uses 2 strings, 2 consecutive strings, and then play the same thing an octave lower. And because the shape that we're using here happens between there are basically 3 strings between. So if you have the octave here, 6th string, an octave higher would be on the 4th string. That means that if we have an idea that uses 2 consecutive strings, well, the idea can start exactly the same, but this time an octave higher. Okay, so that's kind of the idea here. But we're going to go one step further, because the lick that I have here for you that you can take and learn and expand on uses that, but facilitates the octave shift because of the way that it's built. We know that to find the octave, not only do we have to skip a string, but we also have to shift frets, right? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to be in the key of E Lydian, but this could be applied to any other keys. It doesn't really matter. And we're going to descend that. I'm going to break down this lick step by step, and you're going to understand why it's so easy to play. It's because of that positioning thing. This lick works on a full bar, and we have 16th triplets for the subdivision. So we're going to have 4 times 6 notes. Here are the first 6 notes. This is economy picking, so we're going to start with an upstroke, and if we follow the tabs, which you can get below, you should have no problem to figure out how to play that thing. But here are the first 6 notes. We're just going to descend our position. This is based on a 3-note per string position, starting on the first string, frets 16, 14, 12. Same exact thing on the second string. That's for the first 16 triplet notes, so first 6 notes. Then we have something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Using the same position, we're going to start on the second string, fret 14, with a downstroke this time. And then on the first string, we have frets 12, 16, 14, 12. And we're going to play on the second string this time, 16th fret. So altogether, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Get used to that movement. Really slowly, making sure that every note is equal in length. Speed doesn't matter, but synchronization between both hands is very, very important. And that's something that I would highly recommend you work on. Whenever you're working on anything technique related, work on that synchronization. Both hands should be really locked in together before speeding up. Typically, we have one hand that is stronger than the other one, and that hand is going to take the lead. You don't want that to happen, because that will make you sound, would not make you sound good. And if you're aiming for speed, it's going to make you sound slower than you actually are if it's not synchronized. So really we'll focus on that. Anyways, now that we have the first 2 beats, this is where we're going to shift to the next position. And this is where it's really interesting to do that, because of the ergonomics of the guitar. You're going to be able to easily move on to the next string with that. But to recap, this is what we have. Then we're going to descend 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's where the shift happens. My index is going to go to the 11th fret, which is part of the next position. So all together again. Okay, so those are our 6 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the last 6 notes, we're going to descend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's on the first string, frets 14, 12, 11. And on the second string, same exact frets, 14, 12, 11. Altogether, this is what we have. Bear with me. This is really interesting, the transition here. But here's the first bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Make sure that you have this really locked in at a slow tempo, that there's full confidence in the notes that you're hitting. Once you got that, you're landing on the second string, 11th fret, and you're ready to do this full idea again, those 4 16th triplets an octave lower. And remember that octave shape? We started the whole lick right here on the first string, 16th fret, and an octave lower of that would be on the third string, 3 frets below, 13th fret. And if you did this correctly, you should be in position to reach that, because you landed on the second string 11th fret, you're now very easy. It's now very easy with your pinky to reach for that octave of the first note, which is 3rd string 13th fret, and you're ready to repeat the whole process again. Same exact thing, but an octave lower. And then same exact thing below, which now an octave lower, would be even easier because you landed on the 4th string 8th fret, and the octave of the first note that you played is on the 5th string 11th fret. So altogether, this is what we have. And look at the fingering. There's nothing weird, no jumps. It's all very smooth. I'll play it very slow for you. And that's the full idea. At full speed, it's going to give you that sense of repetition, but it's also going to give you a mental break in order to prepare the next step. This is kind of automatic if you spend time working on it at your own pace, and you can create endless combinations of these types of exercises using those octaves. I prepared the tabs for this exercise for you. All you need to do is visit the link below, enter a valid email address, and I'll be sending you those tabs in Guitar Pro format and PDF for you to practice that. And of course, this idea is nothing if you just learn it and don't use it. Learn it, use it, and create your own with the end goal, not to sound exactly like this, but to really find new ideas that are going to help you express yourself on the instrument. That's what it's all about. Nobody cares about how fast you can play. Nobody cares about any of that. Guitar is not gymnastics, but guitar is an awesome way to create and share new ideas with the world. That's what it's all about. And if this was your first visit here, you should subscribe, because every single week, 3 videos like this one come out, helping guitar players like all of us express ourselves, find our voice on the instrument, and develop it to tell our own personal musical story. Subscribe if you haven't. Thanks so much for watching this. Get the tabs. I'll see you next time. Practice well.